listening to Shooting the Breeze with Byron A. Lloyd. Dig it.
All right. What's going on, kids? Uncle Rody is back. Man, where do I start? Look, I've been waiting between the Trump conspiracies. But first of all, I got to give a shout out to that bill paying son of a bitch. He knows who he is. And my man Stephen King Snacks. But I was going to say, man, I've been trying to wait between the break and my back pain and the Trump conspiracies. Not conspiracy scandals. Before I do another podcast. But Trump is like a human-generating scandal machine. He can't stop himself, man. I've never seen anybody who had the worst diarrhea of the mouth other than me in my entire life. He's worse than me. At least I know when to shut up. And what's crazy about it is that it just goes to show, and I've said for months, I have my theories about him being a mole for the Democratic Party, that he's been sent here to destroy the Republican Party and get Hillary elected, which God knows he makes that look more and more believable every day. But the fact that I've also said that, and now you got people like Dr. Drew Pinsky and these other well-known psychiatrists coming out and saying they think he has some type of mental disorder, and I've been saying that for months because you can't be that narcissistic and not have as many sociopathic tendencies as this man has. This man never says he's sorry. He never makes a mistake. I saw a little interview not too long ago where he claimed to have a great memory. Then they asked him when was the last time he apologized, and he said he didn't remember. Typical Donald Trump. The living contradiction in itself. But look, just over the past 24 hours, man, and I'm a terror to Donald because I can't get nobody that supports Donald to actually come on here, and I can't blame him. He's indefensible, man. He is freaking indispensable. But like I said, we're going to get into that. And of course, the $400 million that the Republicans are jumping over and saying it's a ransom, which it wasn't. Obama's been totally transparent about it ever since January when it happened. And now because it's the heat of the political and election season, the Republicans are needing any kind of sliver of a silver lining to jump on because of Donald Trump, so they're trying to jump all over it. And Donald Trump, this is what I was talking about when it comes to Donald. He has openings on Hillary. This $400 million deal, even though Obama did it, he could be all in it. This is right in his wheelhouse. He should be seizing the opportunity. And he's mentioned earlier in his speech, but they're too busy putting out these brush fires to even deal with policy issues. They're not able to attack Hillary because they're too busy defending attacks upon themselves. And, where can we start? You can start, if you hadn't seen the video, where he throws the baby out of the speech. And that right there just speaks volumes to his character. Donald Trump, the baby's crying. Donald Trump's, don't worry, Mom. I love the baby, healthy American baby guy. Then 53 seconds later, he says it in the swarmy ass way that he always does. No, I really don't like babies. Get that baby out of here. And he actually had a baby ejected from a speech. Don't get me wrong. Even if he was trying to be humorous, it didn't come off as humorous. It come off as inhumane. He has a total lack of empathy. He has all the traits of your textbook classic sociopath, man. And that's what blows my mind about how people think that some silver spoon born billionaire, if he's really worth $1 billion, he's probably not about it too. A lot of people say he is. Actually cares about the working man, and people have this grand notion that he's somehow an outsider. When by his own admission, he's the ultimate insider. He's been in the Beltway politics for over 2 decades. He's openly admitted to donating to campaigns to buy influence. And the same Hillary Clinton, who he claims now is horrible, is disgusting. He's called her the devil. He's literally called her the devil the past couple of days. He gave over almost $500,000 to her senatorial campaign and just claimed in interviews a couple years ago that she was the greatest Secretary of State we ever had. She's tough as nails and would make a great president. Of course, he meant great president unless he's running against Donald Trump, because everybody knows nobody's better than Donald. He hires the best people. He does the best thing. He's the greatest guy ever. And the problem is, he might hire the best people, but he does not listen to them. You know, we can start. Let's just start with last weekend. He tries to make an attack on Tim Kaine, Hillary Clinton's vice president. He says he was a horrible governor of New Jersey. And here's the caveats on that that's so hilarious. First of all, Tim Kaine was the governor of Virginia, and you can look at his record. He did an outstanding job, one of the finest governors in Virginia history. But his own fat buddy, Chris Christie's been the governor of New Jersey for the past, 10 years, 8 years? So see, that's what blows my mind is, how out of touch is this guy? That should tell you that he really don't want to be president, because look, I could understand at the beginning him not paying attention, and he just says crazy shit on top of crazy shit. But now that he has got the nomination, he's not even doing the homework. You know, Joe Scarborough, who's a Republican today, said that in his first briefing from the intelligence agencies that he got this week, that he literally had to ask this question not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the question is, why can't he use nuclear weapons? You know what I mean? He actually had to ask that not once, but 3 times. Why can't I use nukes? You know what I mean? Not to mention all the heinous things he did. How about the fact that he basically condoned sexual harassment the other day? You know what I mean? He's backing Roger Ailes, the ex-CEO of Fox, who was just had to step down because he was accused by at least 10 women or more of sexual harassment, including 2 of his big star anchors, Megyn Kelly and Gretchen Carlson. Gretchen Carlson originally filed the suit. Then they open Pandora's box and they do an internal probe, and women start coming out of the woodwork. Well, Donald Trump, you can defend your buddy and still hate on his actions, you know what I mean? But Donald Trump never said nothing about he was foul, he was wrong for, sexually harassing these women, but he's a good buddy, he's been a good friend to me. No, he mansplains it, says he's a good friend and stuff. So they come back and ask him, what would you do if your daughter Ivanka was sexually harassed? And what does he say? He basically condones sexual harassment. Of course, we all know the proper policy would be to go to human resources or take it to somebody high up in the company, possibly retain an attorney, you know what I mean, and document it. He said she should go and find another job or another career. So that's basically saying that's victim blaming, shaming. That's victim shaming, man. He's basically saying instead of her fighting and doing the right legal thing and bucking sexual harassment, that she should just go find another job. Like it's that easy for women who are sexually harassed. And I know a lot of women are sexually harassed at a job, I'm sure, because men are dogs most of the times. They're poon hounds, by nature. But what would you do as a woman every time? Because I know every woman's probably been sexually harassed at some job at some point, at some time in their life. If every woman who was sexually harassed just quit and went trying to find another job, first of all, that's not economically feasible, and it's not morally feasible. It's so immoral. But the women who support him say nothing about it. Not to mention that Donald Trump has been sued for sexual harassment and groping employees and settled out of court. Mr. Donald, who fights to the end and who claims to never lose lawsuits, even though it's claimed he's lost like 450 or something like that, I believe, or settled them, has been settled out of court for a sexual harassment case. And settling out of court is the rich man of the corporate's buyout to where they don't have to admit guilt, even though by giving them money you're admitting guilt. You know what I mean? Because honestly, if you wasn't guilty, you wouldn't be giving them a dime. I know if I was accused of sexual harassment or anything and sued and I wasn't guilty, I'm not settling out of court. We can battle that to the Supreme Court, Jack. You know what I mean? So, but that's the least of his worries. The whole Khan family issue. And I know everybody knows about it now, but he won't let it go. And see, that's part of his ego and his narcissism. He won't let any he's so thin-skinned, he lets no small criticism pass without viciously attacking people. At first, when Mr. Khan and Kazir Khan, Mr. Khan at the DNC, at the National Convention, said that, everybody's seen this speech by now. They've blown it up on the news. They burn it up. That, his son died tragically, but honorably in battle in 2004 by a car bomb, checking his car and protecting his men, telling his men to step back and braving this car bomb alone, which killed him. I salute that guy. As an ex-service member, I salute that guy. You know what I mean? You take an oath to uphold and to defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic, which I do, at this point, think Donald Trump is definitely an enemy in the domestic sense of the word. But he died tragically. Now, I couldn't imagine. That's got to be the worst thing in life is for a parent to lose a child. I have a son, and I couldn't imagine life without him. I really couldn't. I don't even know if I could go on or would want to go on. But his mother standing there in grief, she can't even look back at the picture of him because it upsets her so bad. Now, don't get me wrong, Mr. Condon is an attorney, and he's an immigration attorney, right? So Donald Trump comes out at first, and he says what? He says that that he's made sacrifices too by creating jobs and building tremendous structures, which is basically saying he's built businesses and made money. And making money is the exact opposite. I'm talking about is the polar opposite of sacrifice. You know what I mean? This guy is so out of touch. But these people who have blind allegiance to him, and I've had a lot of friends who I thought I knew that I didn't, and some I've lost a lot of respect for. I'm not going to lie to you because at some point when you say enough is enough. So we keep going. He's not done there. So he stays on the Khan family day after day for 4 or 5 days, even after his family and everybody tells him to stop. He don't stop. And he doesn't stop, excuse my language. Then yesterday, he gets back on television and says he don't even regret attacking these poor people. He doesn't regret attacking them. Yet to apologize, he has not even apologized. How indecent is that not to apologize? At the very least, he could apologize. You see his spokesmorons is what I'm calling them now, thanks to Keith Olbermann. You feel sorry for them. They have to have the hardest job on the planet, defeating his insanity and narcissism, and it's just out of bounds remarks. And now he comes back and says, since Mr. Khan is an attorney, an immigration attorney, who helps a lot of Muslims immigrate to America, that it's because of his policy that he wants to institute of banning all Muslims to stop, and to quote, this is a quote from him, the thousands of radical Islamic Muslims entering this country, which is total horse shit. There's not thousands, there's not even hundreds of radical Muslims entering this country. There's no proof of any of that, much less thousands. And people by these thousands. There's not even thousands of Mexicans entering this country really no more. And you think thousands of radical, violent Muslims are entering this country, which is totally ludicrous. But he's not one for facts at all. He makes up his own facts. And of course, his little Trump robots, his Trump bots, his Trumpster chumpsters is what I call them. They lap it up because they have such blind allegiance to him. I believe he could stomp a baby to death on stage and they would cheer. And here's another point. Mike Pence, his running mate, was giving a speech the other day. And a military mom stood up who has a son in the Air Force. You know what I mean? And she just plainly asked him, how can you look Trump in the eye when he completely disrespects our military force and the veterans in the Khan family? And the crowd boos her. You know what I mean? How sad is that? 95% of them have never served in the military, ain't got the balls to serve in the military, and has never made a real sacrifice like the Khan family has. They give what greatest sacrifice is that? And I'm agnostic, but even as a Christian, what is the greatest sacrifice in the Bible? When God gives up Jesus, his only son, to be crucified. And Mr. Khan gave up his only son, and his son wasn't crucified, but metaphorically he was. So that's the greatest sacrifice that one human being could give for this country. And Mike Pence had to tell the crowd to shut up, that's what freedom sounds like. So how un-American is that, to boo down a military mom who just wants an honest answer and should get an honest answer? How is the president of a possible future president of the United States steadily dissing our military, saying we're weak, we're broke down, we're this, we're that, and disrespecting soldiers and their families who died for this country. Now, you'll get his surrogates or his spokesmans, like I like to call them, come out and say, well, he kind of apologized by coming back and saying that Captain Khan was a hero. But that's 4 days after everybody in the Republican Party and Democratic Party and half America freaked out that he wouldn't let it go. Now, see, that's Donald Trump's problem. He can never let anything go. He always takes the low road. Any other politician or not even a savvy politician, even Sarah Palin would have known better and just let it go, not say nothing. Maybe thank him for his service, you know what I mean, and let it go. But it's still swirling. The scandal and controversy is still swirling because Trump keeps bringing it up. Nobody else keeps bringing it up but Trump. Because he thinks he has to win every argument. And he's wrong in most of them, but in his mind, he's always right. And that comes back from the narcissism. His whole adult life, he's had a bunch of yes men around him. He says crazy stuff, does crazy stuff, and people cheer him on and don't say anything because they're getting a paycheck from the guy when they should say, hey, shut the hell up. You know what I mean? Bite your tongue. You probably shouldn't say that in public. And he does it, right? And he gets away with it. He gets away with it in private life. And he got away with it during the primaries because he's got 16 other people screaming crazy stuff. But when you eliminate those other 16, now it's just him saying crazy stuff, and people are going to put a microscope on it. But he keeps digging a bigger hole. Let's don't stop there. So count it up. He's still battling with the family. Then he gets a Purple Heart. And let me tell you, as being an ex-service member, it's an honorable medal to get. Any medal is honorable. Any kind of commendation you get is a brave and noble thing. But the Purple Heart is what you don't want to get because it means you've been wounded, you've been shot, you've been injured. You know what I mean? You don't want to get it. But Donald Trump gets one. Some dude gives him a Purple Heart, and Donald Trump gets up and makes this offhanded joke about he's always wanted one, which is ludicrous because nobody really wants one. And that it was a whole lot easier than getting it the hard way, which he meant actually going into war and catching a bullet or something, which is disgraceful for the fact that he got 5 military deferments. He basically dodged a draft on bone spurs that he really didn't have. He said he had bone spurs, but the whole time he had bone spurs, he's playing collegiate athletics. So, that was a lie. He was a rich boy that got out of the draft. And then to disrespect more veterans by disrespecting wounded veterans on top of the disrespecting Captain Khan and Kazir Khan and the Khan family by saying he's sacrificed by creating thousands and thousands and thousands of huge, remarkable, tremendous, spectacular structures. Because that's a sacrifice. You know what I mean? Which is ludicrous. It's the most insane equation I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Somebody needs to get him a dictionary and probably a thesaurus too while they're at it. But then he goes on and disrespects John McCain. And look, I don't agree with John McCain on much of anything. But there is no doubt John McCain is one of the most as far as I know right now in Congress, he's the most celebrated veteran in Congress. The man was shot down. The man was shot down in Vietnam, had 2 broke legs and was beaten and tortured for 7 years. He was kept in a BOW camp in Vietnam and beaten and tortured. And not only does Donald Trump months ago say he wasn't a war hero because he got captured, which is, ludicrous. But he goes on to say the other day that he's not going to endorse him. And the reason he's not endorsing him is because John McCain said that his remarks were reprehensible, that he vehemently didn't agree with it, and that his remarks by no way represented the Republican Party, which is what he should have said. So because Donald Trump is petty and he's like a petulant child and he can't let anything go, now he's not going to endorse John McCain. And because Paul Ryan, the leader of the party, next to Trump, he's Speaker of the House, so he's the second command now that Trump has got the nomination, come out and basically said that those were horrendous remarks. So now he's going to get Paul Ryan too, and now Rice Priebus, who's the head of the RNC, they say he's completely mad about it, and that not only is he completely mad about it because Paul Ryan, even though he didn't want to, like a lot of the Republicans didn't want to, because they know he's a psychopath, bit the bullet, showed up at the convention, and endorsed Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And then Donald Trump turns around and stabs him in the back by not endorsing him. And then he just gets better. Donald Trump also says, when they ask him about Russia invading the Ukraine, Donald Trump claims, because Donald Trump, and that's something else that tells you he's a narcissist, only he can solve all our problems. He don't need no help. You know what I mean? Just like all his advisors in his campaign that he don't take advice from. Look, he's got all the help in the world that money can buy, and he takes none of their advice. And you see where it gets him. Because it worked with these dumbass, angry, uneducated, like he said, poorly educated voters that he loves so much because they're dumb sheep and they're gullible and they believe anything because most of them are angry, misogynist, bigoted folks. You know what I mean? That's his base. If you don't believe me, I posted a link on my Facebook, Byron A. Lloyd. The New York Times posted comments that's been said recently at his rallies. When they say, hang the bitch about Hillary, kill her. They make remarks about F that nigger, because I promised myself we're going to say the F word. F that nigger, Sig Heil. Just heinous stuff. There was a 10-year-old kid, they said the other day, that said, take that bitch down at a Donald Trump rally. And the mother defended that remark by saying he learned that language from Democratic schools, which I don't know of a Democratic or Republican school. But as far as I know, all the schools are Democratic because we live in a democracy. So it just shows you the pure ignorance of that woman. But like I said, he goes on, refuses to back the two most powerful guys or two of the most powerful guys in the Republican Party because they rightly shot him down for just to keep on with these attacks with the Kazir Khan and the Khan family. So now it's turned to a dumpster fire. He throws a baby out. He shits on the Khan family. He's two guys who endorsed him, begrudgingly endorsed him. He stabbed both of them in the back in the past 24 hours. Let's see. They say Paul Manafort, who's his head advisor, who's his chief of staff. And let me tell you, Paul Manafort is a professional hatchet man. He is expert at working with dictators. He was in the Ukraine working with Viktor, Ukrainovich or whatever, and he's went to Africa, and his specialty is working with dictators and building political campaigns for literally strongmen and dictators. So that's scary, the fact that even he can't handle Donald Trump, but he can handle dictators. You see what I'm saying? That shows you the kind of ego this guy has, which speaks, once again, to his mental disorder. I've been saying it for a long time, and now psychiatrists are coming out and saying it too. But you get this guy, and then after he craps on Paul Ryan, John McCain, he attacks Kelly Agote. Anyway, I mispronounced her name. She's running for House of Representatives in New Hampshire. And she comes out, again, like most Republicans, because they're jumping ship faster than rats in the sinking Titanic. And she comes out and says what he said was reprehensible. You know what I mean? He should apologize, yada, yada, yada. And he goes, let me tell you, I love New Hampshire. I beat her in the polls. That's why she don't like me. And, well, guess what? What planet is this dude living on? She's not running for president. How's he beating her in the polls? This dude has, cognitive dissonance, man. He is completely removed from reality. He is in another world. I seriously believe that he is has a mental deficiency, that he's mentally insane, or has some mental or bipolar disorder. You know what I mean? I believe he's definitely a sociopath. But the fact, I think he might be getting, he's 70 years old. I believe his brain is not what it used to be. I believe he has mental health issues. And the fact that you don't want to have mental health issues running for the president of the United States, because everybody knows if you run for anything, you're going to be under a microscope. But when it comes to running for the presidency of the United States, you're going to be under the most You would have been a spectrometer, which is one of the most advanced microscope, one of the most advanced microscopes in the world. I'm talking about, everybody knows this, right? But it worked for him for his base to say this crazy, bigoted, xenophobic, racist, sexist shit, man. But you got to win independent voters, and they're leaving in droves. Hillary got a 7-point bounce coming out of her convention. Donald Trump dropped 7 with his comments in the past week. So now she's up by 9 points. I'm sure when the next polls come out, it's going to be double digits. People are saying that the Trump advisors are suicidal. They're frustrated. They don't know what to do. Even his family, who he usually listens to, can't save him. He won't listen to them. Ivanka tried to come and save him about sexual harassment, and she said the right thing. And what's sad is, I believe Ivanka's more qualified to be president than he is. She's definitely more eloquent, articulate, and intelligent than he is. You know what I mean? He should have ran Ivanka. You know what I mean? Maybe they would have a chance. Well, let's keep going with what he's done. So he's kicked the baby out. He's crapped on Paul Ryan, John McCain. Still got the feud going with the Khan family. And then, he just blows my mind. And what's crazy is even his running mate, Mike Pence, come out strongly. They're not even on the same page. So it tells you their party's in total disarray, their campaign. So Mike Pence has come out strongly endorsed Paul Ryan. He's trying to help Trump walk back his statements, but Trump keeps doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on him. You know what I mean? And this is a great story just come down. A Florida Trump voter was just busted for beating up a 73-year-old Hillary backing wife during an election argument. But you got these major Republicans who are fleeing the party. Jeb Bush, Jeb Bush's top advisor, has completely left the party. You have Republican senators coming out now. Some have left, 2 have left the party. All of them are talking about voting for Hillary. You got Meg Whitman, who's been a staunch Republican billionaire, who ran for governor of California, who used to run Hewlett Packard, who's come out now saying, for the first time in her life, also like this Jeb Bush aide, she's never voted for a Democrat in her life, but now she's going to vote for Hillary, but that she is going to raise money for her. You've got Newt Gingrich, who's one of his main surrogates and top advisors, coming out and saying that Trump right now looks more unacceptable as president than Hillary. Well, now he's trying to walk that statement back. But out of all this chaos, there's been rumors that Trump's going to quit, drop out. And Trump is already setting that up. He's already saying the relation's rigged. He's going to lose because it's rigged. And I don't know if it's because he's setting himself up for an exit if it gets too tough to run away, like most whiny little bitches do. You know that kid. He brings his ball to your house. You start beating him with basketball, and he gets mad and goes home. Well, that's Donald Trump. You know what I mean? That's thin-skinned Donald Trump. But what I'm trying to tell you is that he's setting himself up for an exit. So either if he steps away and drops out, or if he loses, his supporters are going to be whipped up to frenzy because they're going to say the election's rigged, even though there's stats being released from 2001 to 2011 or 2014, after 1 billion votes have been counted since 2001 to 2011, 2012 maybe. Out of 1 billion votes counted, there was only 5 that couldn't be accounted for. So voter fraud is non-existent. It's a myth like Bigfoot. You know what I mean? That was just Republican states' attempt to make it hard for minorities and people usually vote Democratic to vote the poor and minorities, which all 3 of those laws have been struck down in the past week, which also does not help Trump. You know what I mean? So Trump just keeps on, man. It's amazing. I don't know how people keep defending him. I don't know how any woman could vote for him. Today in Pennsylvania around the other day, they started attacking. Protesters and beating him up again. But Trump, I've said it all along, and it's obvious. He don't even do the homework. He asked to use nuclear devices. He don't even know where the guy running against him was governor of. He don't know basic stuff that not only a presidential candidate should know, that most people who watch news on a regular basis knows, most common citizens know. So that tells you he's not even trying to do the homework, or, you know what I mean? He's not even trying to get qualified for the job, you know. And I'm going to let Trump go because I've been jamming on him for about 30 minutes. But I could go on and on about it, man. You know what I mean? Trump has spurned more scandals in the past 24 hours than most politicians in a lifetime. And you can talk about Hillary and her scandals. And look, 90% of all Hillary scandals are right-wing conservative media manufactured. Benghazi, she's been cleared of 8 times. Email server, not only has she been cleared, but Colin Powell come out and said he did the same thing. But you don't hear nobody for Colin Powell to go to jail, even though she broke no laws. You know what I mean? But Trump, you know, Judge Curio today said that Trump scammed university, that the lawsuit can proceed because there's enough evidence to prove that Trump was scamming people for money. You know what I mean? The GOPs I almost feel sorry for him. Perfect fact, he don't even have ground operations. Even though he come out today and said his campaign is more unified than ever, even though everybody else in the world, and sources from inside the campaign, of course, said it's nothing but a 4-alarm dumpster fire. You know what I mean? And they're completely frustrated and suicidal. They don't know what to do, but they're still collecting checks. But Ohio, every year, almost in every election for the past 50 years, basically picks the president. Whoever wins Ohio 90-something% of the time wins the presidential election. Trump has almost no ground campaign in Ohio, no operations, and to top it all off, who's the governor of Ohio? John Kasich. John Kasich, he picked a fight with John Kasich. He's been battling with him ever since the Republican convention because John Kasich won't back him for good reason. And not only that, they said Trump reached out before the convention and offered a job. This is one of his top advisors that said this anonymously. He offered John Kasich the job of vice president and said his duties would be foreign and domestic policy. And for y'all people that don't know, that's the whole job of being president. There's no other policies but foreign and domestic. So he basically said, I want you to do the whole job of being president. And they asked him what he was going to do, and he's going to make America great again, whatever that means. Because he has no plan and no details. And I'm going to move on because, God, I could bash Trump all day. And I'm begging anybody that listens. I know Suzanne Hess is the biggest Trump lover of all time. And I beg her to come on my show and debate me on Trump. And I beg any other Trump supporter, beg you to come on here and debate me. Beg any of y'all to come on here and debate me of the merits of Trump. Because I'm going to say it again, and I can't voice this any stronger. If you're not a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, or all-around bigot, by backing Trump, you're backing and condoning bigotry, xenophobia, racism, and sexism, or being misogynistic, and that's a fact. You know what I mean? And you see this blind allegiance. Last time and I hate making this comparison, but the last time you seen blind allegiance like this was Hitler, man. And that's why you hear these people saying Sig Heil and dirty beaners and I want to say the F word, F niggers, and all this stuff, but it's really all this heinous racial stuff, man, because that's what he's tapping into is this undercurrent of racism that's been simmering ever since Barack Obama has been elected. And the right-wing media has convinced these people that Barack Obama is some kind of closet Muslim Kenyan devil. Even though if you look at the facts, Barack Obama, fighting through all the obstruction he's fought through, has done a remarkable job. And will probably go down as one of the top 10 presidents of all time. But I want to get into my last 10 minutes. My last 10 minutes. Once again, I'm begging any of you Trump lovers to come take a shot at the king. Put your money where your mouth is. Ding, ding, let's do this. You know what I mean? Let's do this, man. You know what I'm saying? Which now they're saying that the DM, and I love this, the fact that Donald Trump called for Russia to hack Hillary Clinton and then they hacked her 2 days later is treason in my book. It's definitely un-American. It's treason in my book. If Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or any Democrat done a tenth of what Donald Trump has done, Fox News and the Republican establishment would stroke out and the impeachment proceedings would already be over, man. You know what I mean? But this is what I'm trying to tell you, that that, and Katrina Pearson, who's his main spokesmoron, tried to say yesterday that if Donald Trump was president, that Captain Conway had lost his life. The only reason he lost his life was because of Hillary and Barack Obama, even though the fact that Barack Obama in 2004, when he lost his life, wasn't even a U.S. senator, much less a president. And Hillary Clinton was just the first year was like her second year of being a junior senator, and had no effect on the foreign policy in Iraq or Afghanistan or the rules of engagement. That's all George Bush and his cronies that done that. Your Paul Wolfowitzes, your Dick Cheneys of the world. So see how they just make up their own history? And of course, his followers eat it up like it's fact. You know what I mean? But I want to go on because there was 400 million come out today, even though Barack Obama admitted it in January when it happened. In January, 4 Americans were released from Iran, not to mention the crewmen from the naval ship, 2 reporters. They were released from Iran. We got them back. At the same time, we made the Iran nuclear deal. And we gave them money that we owed them from outstanding debt from the Hague, from a bad arms deal back in 1979, right? Or 81, 79, 81, a deal that Jimmy Carter and it was actually the Republican Congress made. But anyway, we owed them $1.4 billion. And at the 2 hours or several hours after we got our guys back, we sent them $400 million in pallets of shrink wrap money in francs and euros because we can't send them American dollars because it's against the sanctions. We can't wire the money because of restrictions. They're restricted from the international banking community, so they couldn't electronically wire them the money because of their disassociation from the financial system. But now people are saying it's a ransom. It's not a ransom. Barack Obama mentioned it briefly in January. He's been transparent about it. What it was is basically a good faith. It was a sign of good faith. They wanted $10 billion. We're only going to have to give them $1.4 billion. So Barack Obama saved us $8.6 billion. Well, he won't get credit for that. But they wanted to showing a good faith. You know what I mean? And you can understand that. They're saying, we'll give you your guys back. We'll stop building nuclear missiles. But you got to do something too. It can't be all us doing something. You got to give us something back. You owe us this money. Give us a down payment. And so that's what we did. You know what I mean? So you hear them hype about it. I'm sure Fox News, they're calling it ransom. And don't get me wrong, the timing is peculiar. But because we don't deal with them often, the window of opportunity, that's basically what it is. They give us what we wanted, and they wanted something back. That's not ransom. That was their money to begin with, and they wanted to show a good faith. And then when you do something that's not warmongering, when you're not committing war, when you use this little thing called diplomacy, that's part of diplomacy's compromise. You give me something, I give you something. That's how diplomacy works. You know what I mean? And even if it was ransom, which it wasn't, the 4 guys who were released, I guarantee you that each one of their families would say it was worth $100 million to get them back. So, you know what I mean? But that's something Trump could be harping on right now. And he's not. And I was going to tell you, what Trump needs to do to right the ship is what he won't do, is shut up and listen to his advisors. And he's not going to do that. You know what I mean? If there's one thing he's not going to do is shut up. Because he will not let the slightest critique go by. They say all he does is watch news, and anybody criticizes him, I don't care if it's a 9-year-old kid, he'll tweet hate on the kid. You know what I mean? And so the other big news that come out today that's because of all the Donald Trump scandals you really don't get to hear is they arrested a Washington, D.C. transit cop on a 6-year investigation for trying to aid ISIS. And even though it was like only $250 worth of these gift cards for messaging apps to send to ISIS. And people are like, it's only $250. They're using messaging apps to plan and plot against us and everybody else. You know, because it's anonymous. It's anonymous. The software and these apps are using make it anonymous to do that. That's when they use that form of communication. It's almost like was it Cyberdust I use? There's an app called Cyberdust. Unlike Snapchat that used to claim that it would hide everything. Cyberdust, if you've never heard of it, use it if you want to be secretive. Because any text message you send, Literally, he's encrypted and disintegrates 30 seconds after sending, and he can't be retrieved by the FBI or anybody else, I promise you. That's my little IT tip for the week. You know what I mean? And, I was doing asshole for the week. I had that little thing going for a while where I was doing asshole of the week. But Donald Trump's the asshole every week. So I guess I'm just going to say Donald Trump is asshole of the year so we can get him off the charts and find some other new assholes to be assholes of the week. My asshole of the week this week is this guy who trying to help fund ISIS. He's a white, and I'm glad he was white because he'd been black. They had brought in Black Lives Matter. They had turned it racial. The white Republican establishment would have turned racial and everything else. But it was a white guy. And this guy was a D.C. cop, man, transit cop. And they've been investigating him for 6 years. But here's what's crazy about this guy. And this shows how closely associated, affiliate, and network these cats are and are getting on the internet, how savvy they're getting on the internet, and how good a job that Barack Obama's doing keeping us safe, right? In my last 3 minutes, I'm going to break it down for you. Because he was friends with some nefarious other agent ISIS backers, or you could say proxy agents of ISIS, who are currently in the federal penitentiary for this. And we're going to break it down for you. I'm getting it from a Daily Beast. So here's the Daily Beast here. And say 5 years ago, his name is Nicholas Young. D.C. transit cop Nicholas Young was arraigned on terrorism charges in Alexandria, Virginia, federal courthouse. He allegedly told an undercover officer about his plans to smuggle guns into the building to attack his own law enforcement officers. They also say he made 2 trips to Libya in 2011. He was turned away from the border one time. Second time he got in, when he come back, he had so much military gear, body armor, and whatnot, the customs agent stopped him, and the only thing that got him out of getting jammed up by the law then was because he was the law. But he was arrested on Wednesday on charges that he provided material support for ISIS. It's a 6-year investigation that saw him allegedly fantasizing about shooting up a courthouse, going to fight Libya, and befriended 2 convicted terrorists. Young, this white guy Young, who unlike most Muslims, didn't take a Muslim name when he converted, is a convert to Muslim, a 12-year veteran of the D.C. Metro Police. Of course, he got fired. His arrest was the 100th arrest on ISIS-related charges since 2014. So these people that say, like Donald Trump, thousands of radical Islamic terrorists are pouring over the border and that we're unsafe is ludicrous because crime statistics, FBI crime statistics have shown that since Reagan, there's been a steady decline of violent crime in the United States. Barack Obama having one of the lowest crime rates of any president in the past 50 years. But that there's been 100 arrests since 2014, thanks to the FBI in their efforts, right? But they said they alerted the FBI and they've heard about it, and they got a undercover agent to sell them these cards. Now, they said the FBI informant was posing as an Army reservist who wanted to fight for the caliphate. Young allegedly told the informant that he wouldn't get in trouble unless he talked about or admitted his plans to join ISIL. According to court documents, using the government's name for the so-called Islamic State, which is ISIL, not ISIS. Their caliphate is called ISIL. The source pretended to have joined ISIS, then communicated with Young through an FBI agent, poses him to communicate with Young through an disposable email account. On one occasion, in early 2015, Young allegedly praised the Charlie Hebdo attacks to the agents in the email. Not sure if you got the news. A couple of brothers were named in an assault on a French newspaper. He said, unquote, hopefully now people understand there's some lines you don't cross. Later, Young allegedly admitted that he needed help moving money out of the U.S. because he had enough flags on my name that I can't even buy a plane ticket with that red flag coming up, right? So basically, we caught another bad guy. The federal agency's done their job. Barack Obama, 100th arrest since 2014. I'm out of my last 10 seconds. I'm trying to get R.J. Glasper and Todd Gray to be on soon, working on R.J. Shooting the breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. I'm out of here.